somebody my niece, just like they her mother.
And what scares me about that is that if there's other guys out there that's doing that or have done that and that are forgiven now, I would say.
Bobby Christina was Allie. What if their sudden heartbreaking derprist weren't accidents, but instead of calculated moves of a dark conspiracy? And what if the man who stood beside Whitney in her final days, Ray, wasn't just a bystander, but a key player in a twisted web of manipulation? Secrets and Betrayal today, we're diving into Thebum Shell
Sean Diddy
revelations
Combs
shaking.
and Clive Davis.
About artists paying victims to keep their name out of it. People do catching all day. Somebody has the truth, somebody pays you to keep it quiet, and hopefully that money that you got paid secures your happiness while you watch the lie continue to succeed.
Hollywood to its core, exposing connections that could bring down some of the industry's most powerful figures, including Shonglets and glamour of Hollywood masking in underworld of dangerous secrets, a place where whispers hold more power than contracts and where alliances air forged not for friendship but for control. Whitney Houston, a voice that defined a generation, found herself trapped in this world, a world.
Elite.
And her and Clive had a fight 2 days before. And from what I was told, Bobby Christina was present for some of that fight.
Let's start.
That didn't just take her voice, but ultimately her life, and then 3 years later, her only daughter. Bobby Christina, an eerily similar fate, both mother and daughter, were discovered in bathtub Sanders circumstances to chilling Todismus. As coincidence, could Destrides be part of something much larger? It's orchestrated by the industry. Start with Ray J, the man who was by Whitney's side in her final days 4 years. He's been painted as a harmless companion, but stunning new evidence is otherwise. What if Ray J wasn't just a friend but a fixer, a man tasked with keeping the secrets of Hollywood's light buried at all costs? His name has surfaced in whispers about super setups, hidden scandals, and connections to Didi.
Referred to me as Wild King Nights. And what a Wild King Night was when him and a guest would go to a hotel room or be at his home, his bedroom, and they would have intimate gatherings. I would have to go and prep that.
These notorious freak-off parties, these weren't just wild gatherings, they were said to be carefully orchestrated events designed to entrap, blackmail, insolence, and here's where things take as Anister. Turn rumors have emerged off missing footage from these infamous parties, footage that could expose not just Diddy but Clive Davis, and yes, even Ray J. Imagine tape showing the dark corners of Hollywood where careers and lives were destroyed to protect. Those AF top sources allege that Whitney and Bobby Christina were caught in this web, unknowingly used as pawns in a game off or in exploitation, referred to me Estes. God. Conspiracy grows even murkier when we consider his own words in a recent interview. For a documentary, he dropped a cryptic bombshell: celebrities are paying victims to stay silent. People do. K-Shand eliminates all day.
I believe that there are several people that wanted Bobby Christina, but I think the purpose of her was to gain full access to Whitney Houston's estate.
He admitted using chilling industry slang for silencing someone permanently. He described a world where somebody has the truth, somebody pays you to keep it quiet. But what happens when the truth is too big, too dangerous to stay hidden? Was Whitney's untimely end the ultimate equage and eliminate? And if so, what did she know that made her a target? The allegations don't stop there. New details shave surfaced about the so-called bathtub curse. Whitney's tragic passing in a hotel bathtub was initially ruled an accident, but when Bobby Christina was found in nearly identical circumstances a few years later, the Pat and Beckham impossible to ignore Theparollos are haunting a young woman unknown, intoxicated and submerged in watersome
Leverage.
I thought he was this clean businessman who rise to the top because he was such a powerful and smart, educated man. I had no idea that he had this other side to him. And when I started to get exposed to his lifestyle, I started to really realize, like, this guy has an addiction. It's not just once every few weeks, it's every day, every hour.
Called it a ritualistic muss. A warning to anyone who deretified the unspoken rules of Hollywoodsters, has been one of the most vocal voices in these allegations, claiming that both Whitney and Bobby Kristina are taken out. She's pointed fingers directly at Ray J, accusing him of being Whitney's runner boy, a term loaded with implication. Was he merely a supplier, or was he delivering something far more dangerous, like information or threats? Leola's claims have been dismissed by some, but when we look at the chilling patterns, her suspicions no longer seem so far-fetched. And
they've been afraid of coming forward. They've been afraid of what he could potentially do to them within the industry, what he could do to them professionally, maybe even personally. And so yes, it's been a dark secret they've held on to for a very, very long time.
Then there's the element of blackmail. Could it be that Whitney and her daughter were silenced because they knew too much? The freak-off parties hosted by Diddy have been described by witnesses as more than just wild nights. They were calculated event where secrets were traded. Like currency, these gatherings, which allegedly involved everything from coercion to hidden cameras, were said to be a playground for exploitation for Whitney and Bobby Kristina, lured into this world only to realize too late that they were being used as leverage. I thought
centerpiece of a lot of what happened during direct testimony were freak-offs. And what the prosecution tried to show was that he forced and or coerced her into doing these freak-offs. And we've talked about this earlier this week, that at least my opinion is that in a lot of these, the prosecution just didn't close the loop. It was something she felt.
Could connect all the dots. This alleged footage said to involve Whitney, Bobby Kristina, and major players in the music industry could be the smoking gun that exposes the entire operation. Bothers the twist sources claim Ray J was instrumental in making sure that it never saw the light of day. Was he protecting himself, or was he acting on orders from someone higher up? The deeper dig, the darker the picture. Let's not forget the chilling words of Faterney Tony Busby, who represents numerous victims linked to Diddy's alleged crimes. He promised to expose the enablers behind the scenes, the ones who allowed these patterns of abuse and exploitation to continue unchecked. Could Ray J be one of those enablers? And if so, how deep does his involvement go? Been Bobby Kristina's demises rest questions too disturbing? To ignore both women were reportedly isolated in their final hours, vulnerable and surrounded by people they couldn't trust.
He cornered me, and then he asked me, with his arm up, he asked me, "How you doing?" I'm kind of like, wow, this is, what the heck? Very uncomfortable. And then he rubbed his hand down my breast. He said, "If you need anything at all, you let me know."
Think about
the so-called bathtub curse isn't just a metaphor, it's a symbol of the chilling pattern that claimed their lives. Was it a warning? There's a ritual meant to send a message, or something even more sinister? And here's where it gets even more chilling. Whispers of a connection between Thessalonians and the ongoing federal investigation into Diddy's activicious arrest on charges of trafficking and racketeering has already sent shockwaves through the industry, but insiders suggest the full scope of his alleged crimes is far more extensive. Could the mimesis of Whitney and Bobby Kristina tied to this larger conspiracy? And if so, how does Ray J fit into the puzzle? Pull back the layers. One thing becomes clear: this is no ordinary Hollywood scandal. The stakes are higher, the players more powerful, and the secrets more dangerous.
Empire.
Strictly for the purposes of financial gain for those who have access to her estate, including Clive Davis.
Including Clive Davis.
Than anything we've seen before. If these allegations are truthy, could dismantle the legacies of some of the most touchable figures in the entertainment world, but for nowhere left with more questions than answers. What did Whitney and Bobby Kristina know that made them targets what was involved in their tragic fates, and why, and most importantly, will justice ever be served? But here's where things take an even darker turn. Ray J, a man long considered a peripheral figure in the entertainment world, now appears to have been much more than Whitney Houston's companion in her final days. Whispers of his role as Hollywood's go-to fixer have gained traction. A man tasked with cleaning up messes, silencing groups.
I'm sorry, I'm just like really, I'm in this moment right now. This is crazy. Sorry. People don't really know how much what it does to you when something that you love is taken from you and thrown away like it don't even matter, and then they move on with their lives and you're stuck. You're stuck during those years. You're still stuck 21 years later.
And ensuring that the industry's biggest secrets stay buried, his recent interviews reveal. Cracks in the armor as though the weight of what he knows has become too much to bear his cryptic statements about celebrities. Paying victims to keep quiet paint a chilling picture of an entertainment empire built in lies, manipulation, and fear he bowed. It a man who admits that hush money is handed out like candy, ensuring that no one dares expose the truth, Ray J himself confessed. Somebody has the truth. Somebody pays you to keep it quiet. Could this be an admission of his own involvement in silencing Whitney? Was he the one tasked with keeping her from revealing what she knew about? Did Clive Davis and the sinister underbelly of the music industry, and if so, was he a willing participant? Or just another pawn in a larger, more dangerous game? As we dig deeper, we can't ignore the shadow of Clive Davis. Looming over this entire story, a titan in the music industry. Davis was the architect of Whitney's career. But was he also the architect of her downfall? His influence over her life was. It's undeniable, from her meteoric rise to her tragic end, and then there's the killing detail that can't be overlooked. Grammy party he hosted on Thievery Night. Whitney's body was discovered just floors above, while her lifeless form lay in a hotel bathtub. The elite of Hollywood partied on, sipping champagne and toasting.
Let's talk about the filth that's starting to come out in the early days of the Diddy trial. This, of course, is P. Diddy. Surprise, surprise, he's a creep. Surprise,
their own
surprise,
success. Was this a callous act of indifference or a calculated move to protect his empire? Wielded immense power, not just over Whitney, but over the industry as a whole. His connections to Diddy are well documented, and the timing of Whitney's passing just as she was reported planning a career comeback. Unsettling questions: was she becoming a liability? Did she know too much of Booth? Dark dealings of those who controlled her career? And if so, did Davis use his influence to ensure their story ended before it could unravel his carefully crafted legacy? Let's not forget the eerie accounts of the Grammy party itself. Attendees described a surreal atmosphere with celebrities mingle and laughing, while the news of Whitney's passing began to ripple through the building. Some even reported seeing Clive Davis himself calm and composed, as though nothing extraordinary had happened. Was this the behavior of a grieving mentor, or a man who knew exactly what had transpired and washed her man to keep the show going? Now there's the connection to Diddy, whose venom has been at the center of multi-pill scandals involving exploitation, coercion, and hidden footage allegedly used to blackmail his peers. Could it be that Whitney had become entangled in this web and was preparing to speak out? If so, it would explain the chilling similarities between her fate and that of her daughter Bobby Christina. Both women found in bathtubs, both surrounded by questions that still have no answers. Wastas, a message to others in the industria. Warning.
How many people came through his orbit? How many people could this have happened to? And how did he get away with it for so long?
To stay silent or face some fate, the parallels between Whitney Houston and Bobby Christina's Demisari. Almost too specific to be dismissed as coincidence. Both women were found submerged in bathtubs under a similar circumstances. Both were reportedly surrounded by enablers, undisolated in the days leading up to their demises. And let's not forget the startling fact that both were linked to going disputes over Whitney's estate. Could their untimely ends have been part of a calculated effort to erase them while ensuring someone else gained control over their wealth, their legacy? It's a chilling passivity that raises even more questions about who truly benefited from their tragedies. For years, Whitney's estate has been at the center of legal battle.
And what's really going to be interesting is the parade of celebrities who we expect to be mentioned and or called into that courtroom. You know, people who we hadn't heard about prior, like Mike Myers, Austin Powers, Mike Myers. Why is he getting called? Why is he on the witness list? That'll be fascinating. And then, of course, there are the no-name, quote unquote, women who are going to have to find every ounce of courage they have.
Allegations, office management, and greed, casting a shadow over the late Singer's incredible legacy after her passing, her fortune was meant to support her daughter. But with Bobby Christina's life cut tragically short, estate's control reverted to other parties. Some insiders have hinted thought powerful forces within the industry, a divested interest in ensuring that neither mother nor daughter had autonomy over their wealth. Could the shave been the underlying motive behind what many are now calling a deliberate way? Both women's demises seem to mark the end of a particular era in Hollywood. Whitney Houston was more than a global superstar. She was a symbol of resilience and talent, a beacon of hope for women of color in the entertainment industry. Bobby Christina, while young and struggling to find her own path, was seen as the natural heir to her mother's legacy. Their sudden and tragic exits left a void, one that has since been filled by a narrative controlled by those who stood to gain the most.